Hi folks, it's time for another book haul. Hopefully there'll be some footage from my recent trip to my local book hunting haunt, which was once again pretty fruitful. So I'll show you a little bit of shelf action and then we'll go through the books that I found while I was there. Right, let's go. So let's have a little look. That looks interesting. So it's a critic's anthology of science fiction. Bit out of the ordinary. That's interesting. It's The Left Hand of Darkness by Le Guin without a dust jacket, but still. I missed that last time I was here. I'll grab it this time. Plenty of anthologies. I didn't know that James Blish wrote Star Trek books. I'm not interested in Star Trek, otherwise I might buy them. I have that in hardback now. I've got The Forge of God in an earlier paperback. I don't have that. Might be interested in that. I passed on it last time. And I hear good things about Elizabeth Bear as well. Maybe. I went through a big Clive Barker stage a while back, so I've got all of those. Some of them in hardback. Those in hardback and that in hardback. I think that one too is Raft, but I don't have. Starfarers by Paul Anderson. Maybe. Wind Whales of Ishmael. I think I've got that already. We'll have a check. Yeah. Rogue Star. I'll have a closer look at that. I've got Neuromancer. At least I think I have. I have to check. I've certainly got The Peripheral. Now, I think that's actually in quite nice condition. I think I'll get that because it's got a couple of really great stories in it. I've got Colossus. There we go. Those two look good. That's the first Nova. I passed that by last time I was here. I'm not interested in the fake Dunes. R.A. Lafferty. That's a great cover. I've already got that at home. Oh, I'm Legend. It's legendary. I have read it, but I don't have a copy of it. I don't think. So the last time I was there, 2 or 3 weeks ago, they had some anthologies and I missed this one on the shelf. I saw it later when I watched the video back. So I was pleased that it was still there and I picked it up. So it's Nebula Awards Stories 5, which was edited by James Blish, and that's got the likes of Theodore Sturgeon, Ursula Le Guin, Robert Silverberg, Hal Ellison, Larry Niven, Samuel Delaney, and Alexei Panshin. So that's pretty science fiction royalty there. So this is the 5th annual selection of stories chosen by the Science Fiction Writers of America for one of the most coveted prizes in the science fiction world, the Nebula Award. And it also includes the pick of the runners-up. So that's going to be pretty good. Let's see what stories there are in there. See if there's any I recognise. Now it's got The Boy and His Dog by Hal Ellison. So there's a panther from the, I would guess, early 70s. 35p. I think it is 1972. So that's very good. I also found a Robert Silverberg, New Dimensions 4. So he's the editor. And that has, no doubt, a bunch of good stuff in it. So let's have a look. There's a Gardner Dozois story on R.A. Lafferty, Ray M. Maltzberg, Terry Carr, Roger Elwood, and then there's a few. Felix Gottschalk, I don't recognise. Richard Lupoff, Lawrence Janifer, again, I don't recognise. But it's Robert Silverberg selecting the story, so I'm guessing it'll be pretty good. That's that. That's in pretty good condition. It's not damaged. It's a signet from the US. I found The Wind Whales of Ishmael, which is Philip Jose Farmer's take on a sequel to Moby Dick. So by his lights, at the end of Moby Dick, Ishmael is transported through some kind of time-space continuum issue or warp to the future. And in that future, whales, as you can see with the wings there, can fly. And so apparently The Wind Whales of Ishmael is a startlingly imaginative tale of a weird nightmare world from one of America's foremost science fiction writers. So there you go. I picked this up. One might argue that it's not science fiction, but I would strongly argue that, in fact, it is. There's, or at least one of them certainly is. There's a story in here called The Jaunt, which is the story of both the development of a teleportation device and the story of what happens when a family are teleporting. I forget, they're going through the sort of organized process of transporting themselves via this means to Mars, if I remember rightly, to start a new life on the colony there. I think it's the son or the daughter decides to see what actually happens, and I won't spoil the story if you haven't read it, but if you haven't, I really encourage you to do so. I last read this collection of his short stories for 35 years ago probably, and that story, The Jaunt, has stuck with me ever since. It's really good. It's reasonably long. It's 30 or 40 pages long, and this also contains The Mist, which is another great story which has been made into a movie, maybe in a TV miniseries type thing, but the Jaunt is the one that stuck in my mind, and it's a really clean copy. It's not really creased at all on the spine. There's not much damage on the spine or on the edges, not much in the way of chipping. So it's not quite a first edition. So it's a second impression first edition. I mean, it's a paperback though. Who cares? But really good collection of short stories. So this was on the shelves the last time I visited there, and for I don't know why, I just missed it really. I picked up Nova 2, 3, and 4, but missed 1. And fortunately, it was still there when I went back a few weeks later. So that's good. Another anthology of short stories that's got this one edited by, like the others, by Harry Harrison, Silverberg, Maltzberg, Bradbury, Aldous, Wolfe, Gordon R. Dixon, Piers Anthony. So, you know, these are, again, royalty from the science fiction aristocracy. And that was published in 1975 in Sphere, anyway. So there were only 4. So Nova's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I have all of those now. So that's great. So full set. And I also found M. John Harrison's Centauri device. I've got a couple of other M. John Harrisons, and I'm yet to read some. He's firmly on my list of shame that I need to sort out next year. So this is a galaxy-spanning novel of intrigue and violence in the great tradition of the all-time classics of science fiction adventure. One of the most brilliant of the new generation of science fiction writers has created a story of interstellar excitement to stand comparison with the works of A. Doc Smith and A. Van Vogt. Sorry, E. Doc Smith and A. Van Vogt. So being as it's M. John Harrison, I doubt that it's a straightforward sort of pastiche of Smith or A. Van Vogt. I imagine it's a little bit harder edged and a little bit serious and a little bit more layered than that, because he's really a top-notch writer. Also, I hear I Am Legend by Richard Matheson, which I have read but don't have a copy of. It is in the Gary Yellow Science Fiction Masterworks. When I get these, I always view them as being a sort of placeholder on the shelves for a nicer, more vintage copy. But it's in very good condition. It is a great story, and I'll happily have it on my shelves for now. Now then, some Wyndhams. I do not have that. That's awesome. I do have that, so I don't need that. Pretty sure I have that, I'll check. Interesting. Fancy. It's a John Varley. I think I might have that. I'll have to check. A Termination Shock I don't have. That's a nice copy too. So I do have that, although it's in a more recent Masterworks, but I'm not fussed enough to swap it out. That's interesting. It's quite a big fat book for a spin rad. I've heard good things about that. That I'm definitely going to have. That's a cyberpunk jobby. And then it's an Adam Roberts. It's quite nice. I think I shall have that. It looks like a big dumb object type thing. I already have Black Man, although I think it's in a trade paperback. I'll have to check. If I don't have the hardback already, I think I might get that. Two big fat Hamilton hardbacks, which if I didn't already have them, I'd be quite excited about. I've already got them. There's another Gibson, another couple of Gibsons in fact. Those might be interesting. Ooh. James Blish hardback, that'd be quite nice. There's a few interesting things in here today. Have a look at that too. Very interesting. Right, let me have a proper look at the
Robert J Sawyer, Calculating God. I've not read any Robert J Sawyer, but if you remember from last time, I picked up a couple of his dinosaur books, books 2 and 3 of a trilogy of the Quintaglio Ascension, and the first one is a massive pain in the arse to get hold of. It for reasons I'm not completely clear about, it goes for tens of dollars, sometimes, or pounds, and sometimes you can find it for in excess of £100. Like, who pays £100 for a pretty nothingy paperback? I don't know. It's not particularly well known or famous, or I think it just must be scarce. So idiots like me, presumably, are prepared to pay for it. Although, you know, just because it's listed for that amount doesn't necessarily mean that people are actually paying it. But people must think that there must be a decent chance of it. I don't know. I'll continue to look out for it. It'll turn up at some point. Eric Brown, Penumbra. Don't know much about that. I've never read any Eric Brown. So this is the 22nd century. The massive starliners that depart from the orbital transit terminals have taken humankind to hundreds of colony planets. But for Bennett, jaded pug pilot, a life beyond Earth is just a dream, until the McKendrick Foundation hires him to pilot a lightship to the rim world of Penumbra and a fateful meeting with a mysterious alien race. So, that sounds interesting. And then I was really happy to find a couple of John Wyndham's in the Peter Lord covers, which I particularly like. Seeds of Time, with a cool sort of futuristic space shuttle-y sort of thing on the front, which is a collection of short stories, of John Wyndham short stories, obviously. So I didn't have that one. It's a tiny bit faded on the spine, but is in otherwise good condition. And I found Consider Her Ways, which I do have a copy of, but a slightly ropey copy. So this is an improvement on that, a bit of an upgrade. The spine's nice and bright and tight, no creases or anything like that. It's not much damage to the cover, etc. So I'd like to. So my first order of business is to collect all of them, and I've got a couple left to find, and then I'll start trying to upgrade them so that they're nice and crisp. And then I found a Pat Cadigan Sinners, and I think I'm right in saying that this is a first edition paperback from 1991. So, you know, it's over 30 years now, but this is a cyberpunk thing. So Sinners is short for synthesizers. They're not machines, but real people. They take images from the brain of performers and turn them into a form which can be packaged, sold, and consumed. So they're like the Netflix streaming service of this world. Of course, some images are more sought after than others. Pat Cadigan's ferocious second novel plunges us into a fast-moving, high-tech future, exotic, exciting, and very dangerous. So these sinners, the synthesizers, are sort of reality manipulators. So and that's one or two chips on the edge of the spine there, minor ones, and the spine is uncreased, unbroken, and that's in pretty nice condition. So I'm happy to have that. Talking of in nice condition and unbroken, etc., I also got Terminal Shock by Neil Stephenson. This is a pretty recent book of his, I think. Yeah, last year, in fact. So this is a paperback first edition. It's a little bit creased on the spine, but not so you can see it. And we have to look pretty closely. You probably can't even see it. It looks pretty crisp. It's been read once, basically, I think. So in the near future world, not that near, well, I don't think not very far away. In a near future world, the greenhouse effect has resulted in a turbulent troposphere of superstorms, global flooding, merciless heat waves, and deadly pandemic. Sounds depressingly familiar. One man has a big idea for reversing global warming, but will it work? And what are the consequences for the planet and all of humanity should it be applied? From the author who predicted the metaverse comes another prescient, exhilarating adventure, epic in scope and yet heartbreakingly human. So I like Stevenson's writing, although I've read a couple of his that I've got really bogged down in, but recently the likes of Anathem and Seven Eves I've really enjoyed. So I'm looking forward to that. That's good, and characteristically chunky for Stevenson. It's 700 pages. And I've got Stone by Adam Roberts. So Adam Roberts is an author I haven't read yet. I've got one or two of his books, 3 now, and last time I was in there I picked up On, which was his second book. Stone was his third, so that came after. They're all singletons, and none of them follow on from each other. They're not in a series or anything. So let's see. Sprung from a prison in the center of a star, the universe's last criminal is employed to kill the entire population of a planet and leave the planet itself intact. It's a crime that will tear apart an interstellar utopia that has existed for centuries. In a society that has forgotten how to commit crime, who could possibly aspire to genocide? And someone's hired this guy to kind of take out an entire planet for reasons which are not clear at this point. I found a couple of William Gibson books. So that's All Tomorrow's Parties, which wasn't one I was aware of. Shiny. Colin Laney, sensitive to patterns of information like no one else on Earth, currently resides in a cardboard box in Tokyo. His body shakes with fever dreams, but his mind roams free as always, and he knows something is about to happen. Not in Tokyo, he will not see this thing himself. Something is about to happen in San Francisco, and Laney needs a man on the ground there. So we don't know what's going to happen. I imagine nothing good. It rarely is in these things, is it? I also have another Gibson, Zero History. So what's the story with this one? Zero History is another smartly scouted roadmap of alternative routes through today's global culture, as powered by what a friend of mine used to call the military-industrial greeting card complex. It's a world where cool is king, but also the key to power and the future. But what makes Zero History work is that Gibson's radar is deftly tuned to the changes in the culture that many of us are missing, and that from the science fiction reviewing behemoth that is the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. And then I found in very, very nice condition a short story collection. What's it called? In This World or Another by James Blish, and it's in beautiful condition. And then lastly, from today's haul, I got Don't Go Away, Just Be Patient, Star Dragon by Mike Brotherton. It's not an author that I'm familiar with or a story that I'm familiar with, but it was there and it was saying, buy me, buy me. So what could I do? What's a man to do? So I bought it. The image in the tank balloon centered off the hot spot where the secondary star's accretion stream splashed into the disk. So let's see. Star Dragon, the SS Cygni probe sent back hours of video captured by the BioLade AI, but only a few minutes mattered. The 4 minutes that showed a creature made of fire, living, moving, dancing in the plasma fire of the double sun's accretion disk. A dragon made of star stuff, so alien that only a human expedition to observe and perhaps capture it could truly understand it. Anyway, so it's a long journey into the future, 245 light years, 2 years subjective time, but obviously with time dilation effects, the total of 500 years that will pass. So the crew selection is interesting. They've got to be okay with that, and for their own different reasons, it seems. So I'm not sure how much of that is the voyage and how much of it is to do with the Star Dragon itself. But that sounds, interesting. I'll be glad to give that a go. That's it for now. I do have another 15-20 books on my shelf here waiting to be processed in a haul video, so there will be another one coming to you soon. Until next time, thank you for watching. Bye for now.